We were just chatting a little bit. What's that?
Yeah. It's an awesome day.
What time is it over there?
It's 6 o'clock in the evening.
Oh, where are you located again?
Sweden.
Oh, is that the language your website is in?
One of them, yeah.
Right, the one in your bio.
Yeah, could be. There should be a bio in English as well.
I opened it and I was like, I want to say this is German, but it also like, but I also don't know. I couldn't understand anything. It's 9 a.m. here. This is the earliest.
Time difference.
Yeah, the earliest podcast I've ever done, just for you. Okay, so you were telling me about your background and what you teach. So you're a public speaking, communication, what else? Confidence building coach, right?
Self-leadership, yeah. Storytelling.
And you were telling me just before we started recording that you didn't learn all this good stuff that you teach people. Like, I've seen your social media and the tips and tricks you teach are amazing. And you never went to school for it.
No. I studied way more than school. I've spent the last 20 years studying the subject. Any science papers I can find, I'm down with it, you know. I found myself yesterday reading a new science paper, eating popcorn, and drinking a lemon water. And I just thought to myself, this is insane.
Why? What was insane about it?
Well, it's so unusual. You don't read science reports and eat popcorn like it's the most exciting thing going around. It's like, oh my God, no, did they? Oh, wow, how many?
Yeah, because TV shows tend to, take the spotlight now instead of, reading books or articles. It's so much easier to just, fall deeply in love with like TV shows, and they're so captivating now. Like, they've gone so much better than they used to be before that it like makes it so much harder to be fascinated by like an article or like a book, right?
Yeah, definitely. So true.
But you're fascinated by these things, which is, you're saying why you could learn these on your own and not necessarily go to school for it.
Well, both are good. Obviously, if you got a good professor and you got good teachers at school, that's sublime. Do it. But that never interested me. I wanted to go my own route. I wanted to use the skills, like, immediately. I'm very impatient as a human being. So I couldn't see myself studying something for 6 years and then applying it to whatever I wanted to apply it to. So I think it has to do with that.
I'm going the opposite route of just like going to school like full force. But I can totally see how a lot of times I think if I could read this at home by myself, I could watch a documentary. There are so many educational videos on YouTube. I could pick up a book on this. I could, read the most, cutting edge science papers on this article. And school is not always up to date with the most cutting edge science, studies, or like the things that are very recently studied. A lot of our professors are, like, their knowledge is based on the things that happened kind of like decades ago. So yeah, I think if you want to go to like a med school or like be a lawyer, for sure you have to go the schooling route, but so many other things you can learn so much better on your own.
Oh yeah. Considering psychology, like MCT and CBT being a couple of the hottest areas at the moment, you didn't study that 20 years ago, and the field is changing so much,
Yeah.
In regards to microbiology and your gut microbes and all how that influences your mental health. And there's so many things that we didn't know just 5 years ago. So
it's so true. So what made you want to become a communication coach or communication and public speaking? Was this something that you struggled with as, a teenager, as a young adult, and you got better at it, or what was really the motive?
I don't think there was much of a motive to begin with. I think my mother and father, they were super interested in psychology and philosophy and the brain and teaching, ways of teaching and so on. So I've read all these books when I was like 15, 16, 17 because we didn't have much else to read, so I read that.
So would you say you were innately like a confident person and you were good at communication and public speaking, or would you say it was more of a skill that you developed as you did your reading and your, experience with people?
Definitely, as I went on. Definitely. I wasn't very good then. I was fair, but compared to now, it's a gazillion steps away.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be compared.
Right.
So it's a skill.
It is. Yeah,
People
right.
people tend to call it talent. It's not a talent. It's far from. It's a skill.
It could be a little bit of both, wouldn't you say? Some people I think are born more with more confidence, and some people are just they just tend to be more shy. And even though like communication and confidence and public speaking are all things that could be learned, but some people tend to be further ahead in that race, and some people tend to be a little more behind if they innately tend to be more shy and reserved.
It could be the case, or well, if you look at the genetical part of it, there there isn't one particular gene that you're born with and then boom, you're confident. Most genes are like you have a 50-50 relationship. So 50% genetic and 50% environmental.
Mm-hmm.
So that it depends on then if you have that
Right.
gene and your parents do something to you, bad or good, that may
Mm-hmm.
develop your confidence. But it's still a skill that was brought out because of something that happened in your life. And so, for instance, a very common skill in good communicators is people who were on the border of being bullied.
Mm-hmm.
And their way to get away with it was to become the funny person, make fun of themselves, right?
Yeah.
So this was that was an act of protecting themselves, and then they developed that skill and became better and better and better and better, and then they became stand-up comedians later in life. That is not a
Yeah.
very uncommon way, but it's still a skill, even if you didn't like consciously learn it in the way that
Yeah.
we teach. There may
Yeah.
be exceptions. I just say that the majority is definitely skill.
And it's interesting how the same reason, the same causation could be the reason why one person would fight against that and develop the skills needed to then, come out better. But that same thing that you just mentioned, for example, getting bullied, could very much be the same reason that somebody else would go the opposite way and would just
Mm.
like go and hide even deeper in their shell and even become more, of an introvert and don't want to hang out with people, just like don't want to be around people. They become more afraid of people, especially if it happens to you when you're a kid in school. Like it could have like different effects on different people, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think what could happen then
It's
as well,
interesting.
if you become an introvert, apparently people who are introverts, they read people more efficiently than extroverts,
Yeah,
which
I would
which
agree.
means that an introvert is actually a better communicator when it comes to reading other people. I'm an introvert, and I find that when I compare myself to extroverts, I find it that I have some heightened level of reading other people's behaviors. What are you? Are you introvert, extrovert, ambivert?
So when I take the test, I don't know if you're familiar with the Myers-Briggs test.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives you whether you're an extrovert or an introvert, but it also gives you percentages for each letter, which shows you how much of this trait are you. So I
Yeah.
got extrovert, but 3%. So
Mm-hmm.
it's more of like, yeah, like I would say ambivert because I genuinely feel like I recharge more when I'm at home and when I'm by myself. Um, but I also heavily enjoy being around people.
Yeah. Mm. True. Yes. Well, that's it's a good thing to know about yourself because
Right.
allows you to recharge in life.
Yeah. No, I agree with you when you say introverts tend to be better readers of other people just because anytime you don't talk as much and you don't entertain as much and you don't perform as much, you're taking the opportunity of maybe just like witnessing and observing and not being so occupied with talking and doing, and like doing all these things that, like, if somebody is like a really high percentage of extroversion, if they're in a party, they're not observing people, they're more trying to be observed, right?
Yeah.
So I agree that introverts would probably be, I'm not going to say like all introverts are like better at like, observing and reading people, but I agree. So let me ask you this. Why do you think public speaking is such a huge fear for so many people across the world? Public speaking always ranks one of the highest, biggest fears for people, always. Why do you think that is?
I think it's cultural. If you were brought up in a country where everybody was going like, public speaking is the best. I love public speaking, standing in front of other people, trying different skills, structures, storytelling. Oh, I love it. It's the best thing ever. When you come home to your parents and you go like, I'm doing public speaking on Friday, and they go like, no way are you? This is the best day of the year. We're going to celebrate this. This is so awesome. If you had a culture who fed that kind of mentality into people, I don't think public speaking would be a problem. But
Yeah.
now the culture is doing the opposite. They're going like, do you have public speaking on Friday? Oh my God, I'll be sick.
Oh my God.
I'll be sick with you. Oh, you poor thing. So I think it's got a cultural thing, because I don't think there's anything inherently bad with public speaking compared to anything else. Yeah, so
Like,
I don't know what. Yeah.
you don't think it could be like maybe fear of judgment or fear of failure? You think maybe you're gonna like mess something up and people are gonna judge you as weak or incompetent.
I think that because the culture we have, we judge people when they do public speaking as well. It's just become this thing where if somebody puts themselves out there, we're vulnerable. And the big problem with that is as well that losing track of your thoughts when speaking, making a fool of yourself when speaking is not the problem. It never was. It's how you handle it which is the problem. So if you lose your train of thought when you're standing on stage, and you can see the person on stage melting mentally, that's when you've lost the game. But if you on stage instead say, in a cool fashion, you go, I'm sorry, I lost what I was going to say. Give me a moment and I'll check it.
That takes so much confidence and like practice.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing, it's all about how you handle it. It's not getting lost specifically. So when I teach public speaking, this is a specific thing that I teach them. When you get lost, how do you
recover? Yeah.
I love you have a comedian in England called Ed Izzard, and whenever he does a joke that doesn't work, he just does this, brings up this imaginary notebook, and he says to himself, do not do that joke
ever again.
Oh. Next. And then you just go on. And it's so
that's
brilliant.
Funny on its own. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's about handling it. Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, I don't know where I heard this, but somebody said that fear of public speaking can also come from tribalism, in a sense that, like, back in the day when somebody would, when the tribe wanted to prosecute somebody, that would be the only time they would put them on a stage in front of everyone. And so being on a stage in front of other people, or being in front of other people talking, maybe on some evolutionary sense, is placed in our minds as danger and as a bad thing. So I don't know the accuracy of that. I just heard this somewhere, but it does make sense to me. That could be, that could be also like a reason of like why public speaking is like such a big fear for people.
Yeah, maybe I don't think we genetically could remember something like that. That would seems like a
Yeah.
weird thing to remember. It can't have happened that many times. But
Yeah,
say
I
my
agree.
kids, for instance, they don't have a problem with public speaking. They've never had a problem with public speaking, and I haven't specifically trained them all. They've just seen me do it
Yeah.
because they're brought up in an environment where public speaking is cool. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that is just the basic problem of it, is that society has got this thing where we hate on public speaking, and then when we hate on it, we hate those that fail on it, or we don't hate them, but we put them out there. So it's like talking to a person.
Yeah, but people are also afraid of that. There are so many introverts, there are so many shy people that um like even going to a bar and like talking to a girl.
Yeah.
What, like, if you had to guess, what percentage of men in their 20s, right, would you say have a fear of going up to a woman and talking to her at a bar? I would say above 50%.
I'd agree.
More than half.
Yeah, I'd agree. And
You
there's a
know,
certain sense of, possible failure and making a fool of yourself, and you don't
being
want that.
rejected.
Yeah, because obviously at the end of the day, it comes down to the opportunity of mating with this particular individual, and in our small primitive brains, we're still like, it's me and five others. If I don't get this woman, then my genes will fail to carry on in the future. We're living in this cave mentality, I think, when it comes to what we see around us. So when we have a breakup, it's like, oh, it's the end of the world. It is the end of the world. It broke up with me. It's insane. And that probably comes from when there were very few options. But today, when you start see clear, you see like there's 1,000 more options out there. But you don't see that when it's happening. So we're probably very much stuck in our old evolutionary ways.
Mm.
Yeah, the pecking order has changed.
Do you ever coach and help guys with that particular problem? Has anyone ever come to you mentioning that, oh, I have a problem with approaching women, I have a problem with talking to girls, I just get really anxious and I like lose my confidence? Like, would you be able to help me with that? Have you ever had a case like that?
I have a lot of people on TikTok and Instagram who asks me that question. And I have the same answer for public speaking as I do in that case, and that is that stop focusing on the performance,
Mm-hmm.
stop focusing on the result, start
Yeah.
focusing on just having fun. If you have fun, they have fun. If you have fun on stage, they have fun. If you have
Yeah.
fun at yourself on stage, they have fun. If you have fun in a bar when you go up to somebody, they won't feel threatened and you won't feel like you've lost anything because you were just having fun. So that
Right.
it's just a shift of focus from performance to enjoying. That will take anxiety out of the question, because anxiety is connected to performance and not having fun.
Yeah. No, that's a really good tip, because sometimes guys are jittery and they're like fiddling and like you can tell they're nervous and you're like, I don't want to talk to you just because you seem like you're about to have a breakdown, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, maybe don't focus so much on the performance, making yourself seem like this very specific type of guy that you think women want to see,
Yeah.
right? And don't have an attachment to any specific result or outcome. Whatever happens, happens. If you get rejected, okay. You have to learn how to get rejected also. Like, it's a good thing to learn how to like fail and get rejected. You're not gonna
Yeah.
win all the time. Yeah, I was watching some of your videos and I love the stuff you teach. I think they're very practical things that people can learn. And if you can practice them on a daily or whenever you feel these feelings, these negative emotions, if you can practice these like very easy things that you teach, then like all these small things can help you incrementally get better.
Yeah, yeah, that's how I hacked my depression, and that's what I want to inspire others to do as well, even if they're not depressed. People are sad now and then, and being sad is okay, but being sad for a long period of time is just no use to anybody. And then it's good to have these small tips and tricks and tools on how to break that pattern and leave that mental state.
So I actually wanted to talk about that a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey with depression and how you were able to break the cycle and, you know, get better or feel better or have like, you know, less depressive episodes or thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I was stuck in it for the better part of my life, many, many years, probably 17, 18, something like that,
Wow.
19. And it's entirely my entire adult life then. And I realized I had it. I was out walking one day, and 5 minutes of happiness hit me. That sounds weird, but 5 minutes of happiness hit me. I had 5 minutes where I could smell things, see things, colors were clearer. That I didn't feel like everything was worthless and pointless, and that I wanted to kill myself. I got 5 minutes of that. So I asked myself, what have I been doing lately that created those 5 minutes? And I went back and I thought to myself, well, I've been doing this and this and this. I'll just do more of that then. And I did. And then I had 20 minutes, 40 minutes, 60 minutes of happiness. And then it took me about a year, I think, until it entirely just flipped. And I went from as many dark minutes as I used to have. I had now bright minutes of beautiful, beautiful life and happiness.
Mm.
And that difference is like, that is the greatest thing that I will achieve in my entire life. It doesn't
Wow.
matter what I do. If I like build the biggest company in the world, if I become a
Yeah.
billionaire, if I father 10 kids, it doesn't matter. Nothing comes into comparison with going from dark to bright to light.
Wow.
And since that day, this is now 6 years ago, I have tirelessly just been teaching people this on social media and in my training courses on head gain and on my coachings and stuff like that. And I think the thing it comes down to is this, that you have something called internal communication, and that is what you say to yourself in here. If you become a master of your own thoughts, master of manipulating your dopamine levels, your oxytocin levels, your serotonin levels, your cortisol levels, you become a master of your thought, and you combine that with being a good communicator, well, you kind of won in life. That's, you won Monopoly. You won the life game. You became as good as you could. The skills that made the big difference in the beginning was definitely meditation. The meditation 20 minutes a day for about 6
Like
months.
just mindful meditation, or was it like any more like specific type of meditation?
It was, well, I realized further on that my depression was based on low serotonin and low dopamine levels. So there are three versions of depressions commonly. It's noradrenaline, it's serotonin, and it's dopamine. So all of these can be out of whack. I had no problems with my noradrenaline levels, but I had problems with dopamine and I had problems with serotonin. And I think intuitively I chose two versions of meditations, one that increased my dopamine levels and one that increased my serotonin levels. So dopamine levels was focused meditation. And the serotonin was more or less gratefulness meditation, I guess you could call it, but it wasn't really that either. So studies have shown that you can increase your serotonin levels if you think about positive memories that has happened to you in life. So my entire meditation was just that. I just spent time, 20 minutes, going through all the happy memories in my life, over and over and over and over again. because my depressed brain spent the entire day with focusing
Mm-hmm.
on what was bad and bad
Mm-hmm.
memories and negative memories. So these two versions of depressions helped me. And then a technique called break the pattern, which was
Mm-hmm.
very, very important as well. So which more or less meant that I wouldn't allow my brain to go full circle on a negative thought. So if a negative thought was, what's wrong with this person, I wouldn't allow that to go full circle. So as soon as the thought initiates and it goes, what's wrong? Boom, I broke it. I broke the
Mm-hmm.
pattern by thinking about something else, by pinching myself,
Yeah.
anything, like instead of fulfilling that pattern. And as soon as I started being able to break those patterns, which was really hard in the beginning,
Yeah.
but after a while it got easier and easier, then I felt that with the meditation, it gave me the relief to listen to my own thoughts. And when I could hear my own thoughts, I could also break them when they came up.
I see.
Yeah. I think
So,
those were the two most important ones to begin with.
so when you say that you had these like very negative thoughts, did you feel like you had any authority over these thoughts? Did you feel like you could choose a different way of thinking? Or was it just almost like you had no control over it?
Very little control. I didn't even know that you could do it actually at that point of time. So I don't know if I even tried. You know, I
Mm,
remember I had these days, you know, when you said to yourself, today will be different. This is the first day of the rest of my life. Things will change now, David. And then the day after, so I was definitely not in control over my own mind. I was far, far from it. I think that meditation, focus meditation, you know, is known to increase the distance between stimuli and reaction. So if you have an alligator and it's teased by something, it snaps. So stimuli and reaction is this tight with an alligator. Zoom, 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 zoom. And it's the same with untrained human brains. It's like somebody says something bad to me, I will hit them. But meditation can increase this distance,
yes.
mindfulness as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as you increase this distance, where like stimuli, I'm now going to say the thought, I hate myself. Then you can literally see the thought moving in slow motion.
Mm-hmm.
And before it comes to reaction, you can just grab it, look at it, and
Mm-hmm.
go like, we're going to do something else now. I'm going to send you off again, and we're going to reverse that, and I'm going to say how much I love myself. All right, are you ready? Poof. And then you go, how much do I love myself? So that, and meditation gives you the power to use the tools of self-leadership.
Yeah, that's very true. I've definitely noticed that with meditation. I've been meditating for 2 years, and
Wow.
um and I I've I've never struggled with depression like that. I mean, I have bad days, I have depressing days. But it's never been to a point where I feel like I can't function. But something that I've had problem with is losing my temper, and it runs in my family. So that's something that meditation has helped me with, is when, like you said, when stimuli happens, when something happens that would bring a certain reaction. Now, that certain reaction could be a depressive episode, it could be losing your temper, it could be whatever it is you're struggling with. I felt like it gave me a window, mindfulness meditation. It like gave me a window of deciding what do I want to do, instead of it just being like an automatic reaction. It wasn't like a reaction anymore. It was just like I would have a chance for like maybe 2, 3 seconds, you know, but I would just be aware of the fact that this thing is provoking me, and I'm about to show a very certain reaction. And then I would have like a 2 second window of deciding what I want to do. Now, mind you, a lot of times I would still choose to, be angry if I felt like it was more justified and it was okay to become angry. But a lot of times I would choose the other way. A lot of times I would be like, no, this is not worth it. Like losing my temper over it. So do you feel like now that you have that window of deciding, how often would you say you still pick the negative route, the route that you used to pick? Whereas, okay, now this new you.
If my serotonin levels are good,
Mm-hmm.
then I will pick the good route 99 out of 100. But if my serotonin levels are impacted by an inflammation, by a cold, or by a flu or something like that, then I'd say that I pick that route maybe not 10, but somewhere between 5 and 10 out of 100. It is just way more difficult when the serotonin levels are down.
Yeah. Yeah, because you have much less control. It's so you said your hormones are out of whack, so you have a biological issue with that. Do you take medication for that, or is it just the things that you've trained yourself?
No, I just train myself.
Wow, that's incredible. That is incredible. Um, did you see a doctor for that, or did you just decide that this is what I'm gonna do?
It just became a thing. I'm a super analytical person, and
Mm-hmm.
I need to dive into the depth of any subject, like to the very,
Mm-hmm.
very depth of anything. So when I started, I never touched self-leadership before until like 6 years ago. But since that day, I have learned something new every single day. I've
Mm-hmm.
practiced something new every single day, just because I wanted to learn it. So I would say that it didn't become clear to me until like 3 years later that it was my dopamine and serotonin levels which were low.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't start there. If I'd known that, my journey would have been way easier. Way easier. But I didn't know that. So I kind of like learned that later on.
How
And
would it
that's how
have
you
been
learn.
easier?
I would have known what was wrong. Now I was just like, now I was more like,
You just
not
thought
hell.
something's wrong with you,
Yeah,
with you and as like a human, whereas like no, it's just like a couple hormones that are like out of whack.
yeah. I guess the similar could be like, I want you to go to a city. It's a big
Mm.
city, right? Go. You got no idea where you're going.
Yeah.
But if I'd said to you, hey, go, I want you to go to New York, fine. Then you would go to New York. You would go and know exactly how to get there and how long it would take. So now when I had to hack my depression, I was all over the place. I was doing magnesium, I was doing B12, I was adding C vitamin, I was adding D vitamin, I was adding sunshine, I was doing exercise, I was doing meditation, I was doing focus questions, I was limiting beliefs. I was just all over the place. I think I did somewhere around 50 different things to hack my depression. But if
Wow.
I'd known that it was based on dopamine and serotonin levels, I could have maybe just used 10 of them and it would have gone way faster.
Yeah. So since you've done so many of these, depression tricks and tips, and you've done so many of them, which ones are the ones that have worked the most for you?
Meditation, as I said, and where you break the pattern, and focus questions or primary questions.
What is that?
It is the questions we ask ourselves about our environment. So
Mm-hmm.
all human beings ask questions. We ask questions which could be negative, which are like, why am I ugly? Why is my nose big? Why are my eyes too small? Or why
Mm,
am I not good enough? Or why am I not smart enough? Or when will they realize I'm a fake? Like imposter syndrome.
like an imposter syndrome, yeah.
And then you have external primary questions, which are why did they do that? Why are they so dumb? Why are they so unintelligent? Why are they voting in that way? That's stupid. We're constantly seeing mistakes in people and their performances and stuff around us. You can hear these people. Like they're very common. The way they speak is that they find faults in everything.
Yeah.
So after training thousands of people in this, since I passed my depression, I realized that 95% have negative primary questions. We have questions which we use daily, which bring us down. I had a
So
bunch of
true.
these. So I started listening to my brain and what it was saying to my environment and to other people. And I found 4 or 5 focus questions, primary questions, and I just reversed them into new ones. So when you have the stimuli and you have the reaction, so one of my focus questions was, what's wrong with that? So as soon as I said, what's wrong with that? That was the reaction, or that was the stimuli. My reaction would then be that I would become sad and upset, and then it would go into a loop. But thanks to the meditation, I could now hear the focus question, and I could reverse it to what's fantastic with that. So I sent it out again, and then my brain just went, what's fantastic with that? And I felt 1,000 times better.
Wow.
And I just redid that over and over until my neuroplasticity took care of the rest. So
Incredible.
that was super important. And then limiting beliefs. I think I found about 10 limiting beliefs, which I fixed. So I just went at them one after one, just killed them in various different ways.
Did you ever go to a therapist?
I did about 4 years in, yeah. But that was mostly to get answers, to questions which currently remain unanswered in my brain. So it wasn't really for therapy. It was more that going there and saying, I've figured this and this and this and this out. But what's the missing piece here?
Like what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
It's like you figured out all of this on your own, like from the internet and books and articles. You figured out all of these ways and methods to hack your depression.
Yeah.
You didn't go to a therapist and you didn't take medication. Medication. So you really just did your own research and you fixed your own problem. And then when you would have a question like what you said, you would go to a therapist.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's incredible.
It's fascinating when you start. And every time now that my mind behaves in an unexpected way, I love it. Because it means that I have still got something to learn. Like, why did it behave like that with this trigger? Where did that trigger come from? Where was that trigger created? And what can I do to prevent it in the future? Or enjoy it, or accept it.
Right. I love it. It's like now you get excited to do more research and learn more. And then you're probably going to make it into amazing educational videos and teach the rest of the world. But it really goes into showing that in this day and age, with us having access to internet, you have access to anything and everything that's ever been learned and taught and discovered, and it's all out there. It's all out there ready for you to be found. And so it's like if you are still stuck in a negative pattern, a negative cycle that just keeps happening and you can't grasp any kind of control, maybe you should do a little bit of work and research yourself. It's not that hard, wouldn't you say, to people that are listening, that maybe you could just go and you dig a little deeper and see what you can find for yourself, help yourself out like you did.
Absolutely, as long as you're not clinically depressed, because when you have major depression or you're clinically depressed, there are actually neural changes in the brain which due to epigenetics, won't actually allow you to see any opportunity, possibility, or solution outside of yourself. It's just not a viable idea. I think if you have a major depression, just seek help. But if you have a medium or light depression, or you're sad, or hey, if you just want to like maximize your life, yeah, learn about self
Yeah.
leadership, self coaching. It'll
Yeah.
change your life. Mm.
No, I agree. But it's like, even if you're clinically depressed, yeah, sure, go to a psychiatrist and get prescribed the medication that you need to take. At the same time, you still need to, do all these other things that would help you. Like, what's your diet like? What
Mm.
time do you go to sleep? How much sleep are you getting? How much sunshine are you getting? How much nature are you getting? How
Yeah.
connected are you with people that you love and they love you?
Oh yeah.
You said you lack serotonin and dopamine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, so that serotonin is the mood stabilizer. So basically, like, your moods would shift too often, right?
Yeah.
Like, you would say, like, up and down. So yeah, like, serotonin is like, easily, okay, get some sunlight, uh practice gratitude,
Mm.
be active, be physically active, like go for a run, ride a bicycle, or swimming, or and definitely meditation, like, helps with all of them.
Mm.
And dopamine is your reward chemical. So do anything that would reward you in any sense, like finish a task. I have many journals, and one of them, this very one in the front, is my task journal, and my favorite thing is to cross off my tasks. I can literally feel um the dopamine release, like,
Yeah.
immediately when
Yeah.
I cross off my tasks, when
Yeah.
something is finished. So it's like, it's a reward you get for a progress.
Oh, I absolutely agree. But what I'm thinking of is like major depression, clinical depression, and you're on the border of, I don't know, everything's just dark, right? You
Yeah,
may just need help with antidepressants. Just get out of that to see the opportunities. But if you don't do the stuff that we just mentioned, that you mentioned, sunlight, exercise, meditation, if you don't do that, you'll be stuck in that state for way longer than if you
it's
actually
true.
help yourself at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also true. Like, I like to look at the other side of it, and it's like, yeah, people that don't struggle with depression are like, oh, why are you depressed? Just go for a run, get some sunlight, go work out, and, like, you're gonna feel better. And it's like, no, you don't understand. Someone who's in that state, they don't want to get out of bed for days. They don't want to move. And you're telling them, oh, just, like, go for a run, go for a workout, which is something that, even if you don't struggle with depression, you still need a little bit of motivation, a little bit of discipline to, like, get up and do it. So imagine
Yeah.
if you're in the bottom of a hole, figuratively,
Yeah.
and you're struggling to just move, get out of bed, and so it's hard. It's easy to say, but I can only imagine how hard it would be to, like, actually do.
I agree. It's a bit of a trendy thing to be depressed these days.
Hmm.
Mm.
What do you mean? What does that mean?
I think a lot of people, not a lot. I think some people look for significance, right, in others. All people look for significance in others. Some do it through building muscle, and so some people
Hmm.
see them and they become significant. Some are significant because of their beauty. Some are significant because of their knowledge. But you can also be significant by being sick, by being
Hmm.
sad, by being a victim, by being
Hmm.
depressed, by saying that you have anxiety. Therefore, I believe that I've met people who have not chosen, it has just become their thing that they are significant to others by complaining about how bad they feel,
Hmm.
not doing anything about it. And
It's a way of getting attention, maybe getting nurture.
yeah, all human beings need attention and significance. We just need to have that role. And it can become really bad then, because saying that you're depressed increases your significance in others, you don't actually want to get rid of it either, because then you lose your significance.
So it keeps getting reinforced.
Yeah.
It's like you maybe in the beginning it wasn't like a lie or act. Maybe they were feeling anxious or depressed, and then they started getting a lot of like love and support and, you know, nurture and attention. And then it becomes this reinforcement of like, oh, if I keep, you know, acting the same way, I will receive the same amount of love and attention. So then, wow, that becomes a really bad cycle. So it's because you keep telling yourself that I'm depressed. So it's like, even if you're not, you keep playing that role.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Not uncommon. It's not uncommon.
Yeah, no, that's interesting, because now that you mention it, I think about it. I feel like for like my generation, when we were growing up, everybody wanted to seem tough. You know, at least like where I was born and raised, like everybody wanted to seem really strong. Everybody wanted to seem really tough. Like nothing hurts, nothing bothers me, you know? And now I feel like it's the complete opposite. Like people are constantly hurting, people are constantly sad. And it's like, it's the complete opposite of what like we used to do, you know, like, oh, I'm like so tough, like nothing hurts me, even if we wanted to like burst out in like tears. And now it's like the complete opposite. Like any chance people get to be sad and depressed and upset, they will take that chance.
Wow.
And offended.
That's crazy. That's a good reflection though. I don't know the year exactly, but there was a period in England where being in mourning and being sad was a popular thing to be. So being dressed in black for as long as possible, they did that for months, you know, after somebody died. It was insane. And it was actually like common to feel the feeling of sadness. It was something that people wanted to do. So the shows, the theaters, was about creating sadness. There was no chance that comedies were on stage. Like sadness was the thing. So, and there's nothing wrong with, you know, feeling positively sad, if that makes sense, like melancholy kind of state. Not sad, tear sad.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. It can be beautiful. Yeah. If it's like raining and you're listening to like a, you know, like a cool sad song, like it feels fine, you know? But I know what you mean. It's like a culture, you know? It's like I feel like in different times, different generations embrace different cultures. And sometimes like maybe happiness in that time is trendy, maybe being tough is trendy. And I feel like right now the generation that we're in, at least, definitely, as you said, I would agree that like sadness and like depressed is very much trendy.
I also believe there's a lot of more people depressed these days than there were like 20 years ago. Just physical exercise has been shown to be the most important thing to relieve depression. And it is also the number one thing that we're doing less now in our society. So if you remove the number one thing that relieves depression, of course you're going to have more depressed people. And nowhere in humanity have we been doing so little exercise as we're doing at the moment. So I think there's definitely some truth to that. We're more depressed, but it's also a thing that is trending.
I mean, there are so many reasons we're stuck behind our phones. We're stuck behind screens most of the time. It's either a laptop, iPod, iPad, a phone, and social media definitely doesn't help anyone's mental health. You're constantly comparing yourself. You're constantly ranking yourself in this social hierarchy, and you realize how much you fall short compared to these other like successful, beautiful people. At the same time, the only exercise we get now these days is if we actively choose to get out and go to the gym. You know, we don't like normally do active things like people back then used to, you know, like we drive everywhere. We even take the elevator to go to our gym to do our workout, you know?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
hysterical. There are many reasons for us to be more depressed these days. Yeah, there's also fairly easy things to do something about it. If you're not in a depressed state, just like eat well, exercise, get out into sunlight, spend time with your friends. Boom. Chances are you going depressed when you're doing that are way less than if you don't.
So true. So true. And unfortunately, something that's super implemented in, like, I don't know if it's just like the Western culture, but people tend to gravitate towards partying and drinking immediately when something upsetting happens. Immediately. Like if
Yeah.
you get bad news, what do people say? I need a drink.
Yeah.
If you get good news, what do people say? Let's drink. So it's
Mm.
like they become confusing because now you're giving yourself the same thing when you're happy and when you're sad, right? Wouldn't you say it becomes like a
Yeah.
confusing thing?
Yeah. I've never thought about that, but that's true. It's a good point.
And yeah, you drink and you party and then you become more depressed.
Yeah.
You come home late, you sleep late, you wake up late. It ruins the next day. So then a very maladaptive cycle begins,
Yeah. Good point.
right?
Yeah. Never seen that one. Never heard that one. That's good. We drink when we're sad, when we drink when we're happy.
Yeah. It's like
Oh,
pick one,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I like that. Good reflection. I got to think about that one a bit. It's a good
Right.
one.
Right before we wrap this up, I just want you to give us a couple of your practices. You talk about these on your videos where you talk about, like, you have the physiological sigh, you have the eyeball thing and rumination.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought those two, or like looking upwards with
Yeah.
that helps with anxiety. So can you just like go over a couple of these, in case like people wanna, as you're listening to these, you can practice. If you're driving, if you're anywhere you are, you can practice these.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So there's first you have the physiological sigh, which is two quick breathe-ins through nose and exhale through mouth slowly. This particular breathing pattern, it activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which calms you down, brings down heart rate. Okay? Your brain wants to do the opposite when you're upset. It wants to do long inhales and quick exhales. But
Mm-hmm.
go against that and do two quick inhales and one long exhale, and you will feel relaxed after just 4 or 5 times. It's incredibly powerful.
When you do the
Um,
two quick inhales,
mm,
um, is one of them longer than the other, or are they both the same length?
same length. Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah. The core thing is to get enough air so that you can do a very long exhale,
mm-hmm.
because that is what
Okay.
activates the parasympathetic nervous system. And
And you do that a few times, and it
yeah,
basically calms down your nervous system.
yeah, 4 or 5 times. And the other one is actually exciting instead. So if you do too long inhales, you will feel that you get a rush instead. So that is more like when we're hyperventilating, that is more similar to hyperventilating. So if you want to get excited, that is the best way to go. If you want to calm down, the other one is the best way to go. Generally, we want to calm down more, which means
Yeah, yeah.
two quick
Why would
inhales
you
and
want to
one exhale.
hyperventilate? Why would you want to
Well,
hyperventilate?
if I need to get excited on command, like for a TikTok, then I do the other one. Or
I
if
love it.
I'm gonna go up on stage and I need to just increase excitement,
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
do the
yeah,
other
yeah.
one. Yeah.
Oh, I
Mm.
see, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
You're like,
If
you're
I'm
going on a date,
yeah, and you want to
you
be
know,
like a
and you
bit
want to be like, yeah, you want to
charged.
bring the energy.
Yeah. So you pick which
Okay.
one, depending on which one you want.
So the
So it's
interesting
good.
thing is to decipher if you want to calm your nervous system down, you have long exhales. But
Yeah.
if you want to do the opposite, if you want to excite your nervous system, you do the opposite. Instead of having really long exhales, you do them short and quick,
Mm. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. And
And then you have to pin the eyeball, which means that we human beings have a very hard time thinking if we do not move our eyeballs. So if I try it with you, for instance, if you stare to the camera and I ask you a simple question like, how old are you? And
28.
you answer, yeah. And where were you
Yeah,
born?
that's too easy.
Yeah, yeah,
What's
I
the
know. We're just doing it easy now. Where were you born?
when or where?
Where?
Iran.
Okay. And what's your name?
Pani.
Right. So when you don't need to think, your
Yeah.
eyes are easy. They're
Mm-hmm.
easy to fixate. But if I ask you, tell me about the chair you had in your living room where you grew up.
There was a lot of them.
Just pick one.
Um,
Tell me about it.
we had
Easy,
this
right?
rocking chair.
Your eyes moved immediately
Did
up to the
it?
left corner. Yeah.
Okay, ask me another question.
Okay. What's Tell me about a painting which is behind you.
Oh shit,
There
it
you go.
already moved.
Boom, boom. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I read this in a book that when you look, I don't remember the details, but it's like each corner that you look means you're trying to access a different part of your brain. Like if it's a memory of something that already happened, I think it's like up left or up right. I don't know, you might know this better. If it's something that if you're like trying to form a thought, like what did you have for lunch yesterday would be different than what would you like to have today when it's lunchtime. You would like look in different directions to access different parts of your brain. So that's interesting. Yeah, that could
That could
very
be the
much.
case. I think they have tried to replicate that study, but failed. But
Mm.
there is definitely something to it because
Yeah,
you move your eyes as soon as you need to think. Almost every human needs to move their eyes to think.
yeah,
Therefore, when we ruminate and we think about memories or we worry about the future, we tend to move our eyes rapidly.
interesting.
So forcing yourself to not do that, like just not
It's like look straight.
allowing them to move calms down your mind because they need to move in order for you to access that information.
Wow, I love it.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you can't get out of a negative thought pattern at any given moment, just try to remember. Well, you have to first bring yourself to the present moment to even realize. So first, you have to like have the awareness of this negative thought that's happening that you would like to not think about it right now. And
Yeah.
then once you become aware of it, then you can do this.
Yeah.
Fixate your eyeballs on something and keep it there. So
Yeah.
you won't give yourself the chance to even like think of a thought, then whether it's positive or negative, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, was there another one?
Yeah. You've got the one where you tilt your head backwards and you roll your eyes upwards. Now, this is an ancient technique in meditation, and it is referred to uh, looking at your third eye. Like imagine you have a third eye here, and you roll your eyes up so that you look onto your third eye. Now that's like the ancient description of it. The scientific reason for this is yet to be found out, but
Mm-hmm.
as soon as you do this, you relax. You'll feel an immediate sensation of relaxation in your body.
Mm.
If I were to guess, it is a very similar feeling to something called GABA. GABA, you have glutamate, which excites the brain, and you have GABA,
Mm-hmm.
which inhibits that excitement.
Mm-hmm.
And when I do meditation, I can feel a massive increase of the sensation that GABA gives me, which is kind of a relaxed, mellow, half drunk feeling.
Interesting.
And when I look into my third eye, I feel more of that. Therefore, my conclusion would be that somehow this could increase something like GABA because it gives me a similar feeling.
Do you, when you look up, do you look straight up, or do you try to look here, which means you would have to
Kind of
look, like you're looking towards the highest point of a pyramid, right? Whereas if you were to just look straight back, it would just be like parallel lines. So you're trying to look invertly a little bit, right?
Both seem to work. You can try it yourself and see which one's easiest and works the best for you.
And how long?
Well, to me, 5-10 seconds makes a big difference.
Oh, okay.
I did it once for, I think, close to like 5 minutes, and I didn't feel normal like until hours after that. That was
wow.
I literally got this weird high from it.
I'm gonna do it right after this episode.
Hi, can you do this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
That would be cool.
That is cool. All right. Well, we gotta do this live sometime as well. It's a good chat.
Yes, I agree. I personally learned a lot. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. And where can people find you?
Hook them up on my links on LinkedIn, any one of those social media links in your post if you want to do that. But I do all social media except Twitter and Snapchat, more or less.
Same. And what's your Instagram? What's your TikTok? I think those are the platforms you're the most active on, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, most active. And yeah, David J.P. Phillips is the tag on any of the social media platforms.
David J. Phillips.
J.P. Phillips.
Yeah, and I'll put it in the description of the episode also, for people who want to check out your videos. He teaches really cool, like everyday practical things that can help you with anxiety, depression, communication, public speaking, confidence, just all sorts of stuff. All right, thank you everybody for listening, and thank you, David.
Thank you very much, Pani.
All right,
pleasure.
bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.